Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.
Well, welcome everybody to the latest episode of Keepie Uppies, and we're absolutely delighted to be joined by the Villa Rovers gaffer, Danny Cushnan. Danny, great to have you on.
Man. Thanks. Right, thanks, Neil. Yeah, good to be on.
Good stuff. And you're just straight off the fairway, playing a bit of golf in this evening. How'd it go?
I was all right. I finished off with 3 pars, so happy enough with that.
Ah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off the usual way. So who did you support when you were growing up, Danny? And who was your football hero?
My football hero was Danny McGrain. He played for Glasgow Celtic, and Celtic's the team I've supported since I was a child, you know. So I always supported them, and Danny McGrain was my hero. I was lucky enough. I got to meet him there last year. I got my photo taken with him. He was played down in the Point last start of back in August there last year. And I was invited into that from Cleary Celtic. It was something I was very grateful for. And then, well, you know, there would be the usual others, Pele and, you know, Kenny Dalglish and players like that there you would have looked up to and you would have followed, you know. But Celtic or Danny McGrain was the main man.
Yeah, handy footballer indeed. And so what about Angie then heading off to Spurs? What's your feelings on that?
Disappointed. Like he's done some job over the 2 seasons he was there. Fairly turned us around from how we started off how we were 3 years ago. But you know, like you can look at it as a compliment as well that, you know, you've got clubs from the Premiership looking to take both players and managers down there, you know. So but I would like obviously you'd like them to stay on, because I think you know, with them there, you know, there's something to build on, particularly in Europe. It was the first time I was kind of excited about a manager from Martin O'Neill. So but these things happen anyway, you know. So I think it's part of football. Managers move on and players move on. There's no such thing as the manager, or very rarely there's such a thing as a manager or a player staying at a club the whole career.
Well, I think if a manager, if you're there for a couple of years, you're doing all right. The way things are going.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. You look at Watford. If you're manager of Watford for 2 months, you're doing all right. They just seem to be going through them like Sunday dinners. Yeah. Would you take Brendan Rodgers back?
The way at the minute I would say no, but what I would say is that whoever the manager is that comes in, you know, okay, I might not want him now, but once he's in as manager, you get behind him and you support him, you support the club because you want the team to do well. But I'm not a fan of a manager going back, really. I kind of think it's nearly a step backwards. I need to, you know, you want to see that progression, you want to see new ideas and things out there, you know. But you know, it's like if he does come back, you get behind him. I didn't like how he performed in Europe, to be honest with you. Whereas obviously he dominated in Scotland, but I don't think he done as well in Europe compared to how Ange did there last season. You know, we were unlucky against Real Madrid, really, and particularly in that first game. You know, just poor finishing really sort of didn't get us the win that we were, or a point. You know.
Yeah, it was kind of similar with Brendan when I'm a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
He's managed Liverpool. The European form results weren't great. I remember one Champions League campaign was awful.
Yeah.
We were in the same group as Real Madrid, Bal, and I can't think of the other team. But it wasn't a particularly tough group. We should have at least been in the top 2. But yeah, his European record wasn't great. And of course, he had a bit of a disastrous last full season at the club. But interesting anyway to see who's get in.
Yeah, he seems to be like a 2 or 3 season kind of manager, doesn't he? You know, he does well for 2 seasons and then tails off, and that's what happened with Liverpool, really. You know, and then and the same with Leicester. So it was probably a good thing he left Celtic whenever he did.
Yeah. But anyway, this podcast is about your good self. So you've told us obviously who you grew up supporting, who was your football hero. So what about sort of your underage playing days? What's your kind of earliest memories there? Any kind of standout moments in your underage youth football many, many moons ago?
Underage, I started off with Cleary Celtic under Barty Green, looked after Cleary at that time for the underage football, and my brother played for them whenever he was going through underage, and they won an awful lot of trophies, and we did too. We did too. But Artie stopped looking after the underage football then whenever I was still 12. I think I played with the under 12s for like 2 seasons or something like that, and then he stopped looking after them, and I moved to another team then, Barcroft, which were managed by John Green, Artie's brother, and played with them then for 2 or 3 seasons, and then I think John then just stopped looking after doing underage football, and underage football that time around Uri kind of died off to extent. There wasn't really much sort of effort put into it, and so then I didn't really play anything then for about 2 or 3 seasons, and it wasn't until the team in Omeath, I live in Omeath, I'm an Ethiopian, as we call ourselves, from County Louth. So the team in Omeath set up, there was a Cooley Distillery League, and they entered into that, got a team together, and I was asked to play, and as a first game in 2 or 3 years, it was absolutely awful. So but I was playing, I was a fullback for Cleary and for Barcroft, and I think the manager, to get me out of the way because he didn't have another sub to put on, pushed me up front, and I scored 4 goals. So kind of from then on, I kind of played up front, and that's really my experiences of underage football. Not
So
very exciting.
you're a lethal striker then? It's not bad, 4 goals.
I think they kind of hit off me and went in, sort of thing.
You're a bit harsh on
right
yourself. And you see the Barcroft team, funny when you were just talking about Newry football, then Barcroft came into my head, and then of course you went and mentioned them. I remember playing against them on underage, but they wouldn't be about anymore, would they? They kind of
No,
disbanded,
not as youth football.
Aye.
Yeah, not as youth football or senior football. They did have a couple of senior teams in and out of the Caribbean League, but they're not going at the minute.
Because they were always handy wee side. I remember
Yeah.
there was a couple of good players in the team, but I always remember there's a wee guy called Rambo. I'd love to know where he's playing at, or if he's playing any. He was a brilliant wee footballer for Barcroft, but we used to have some rip roaring. I remember there's one particular game ended 4-4. It was an absolutely crazy match.
Yeah.
But
well, if it's the same Rambo, he's playing with Cleary Celtic now.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
It probably is, because he'd be. Would that same guy? Would he be? I'm 37, so he must be. He was the same age group with him around then. Yeah, still a young pup then. He probably doesn't have the grey hair that I have. Yeah, but honestly, even back then, I'm talking under 12. Like, he was kind of always the standout player, so it might well be. Might well be the same guy.
Yeah, he's had a good career. Yeah.
But he did.
If it's the same fella. Yeah.
Must hunt him down then, get him on the podcast as well.
Yeah.
So, did you then stay sort of centre forward then for pretty much your youth career? And did you stay kind of centre forward into your senior career? Or?
Well, the Bayview team, whenever I signed for them, that was a senior team. So that was me just playing senior football then, really from 16 onwards. So I either played up front or out on the wing, sort of right side or left side of midfield or whatever. Rarely I would have been pulled back into a fullback position, but it was mostly up front or out in the wings where I'd create goals or try to create goals and try to score them. But that was generally my position all the way through to finish. I wasn't adaptable enough to where you see a lot of players move back into centre half as they get older. I wasn't as adaptable as that, so my playing time towards the whenever I was finishing up was an awful lot less than what I probably would have liked or hoped for.
You would have come on for those wee cameo roles. Always,
Yeah,
yeah, I always remember Dennis Bergkamp when he was coming towards the end of his playing career. Still a handy player, but sort of his mid-30s. He always used to come on for Arsenal for about the last 5, 10 minutes and probably come up with a
yeah,
couple of assists. So you were kind of that type of player then, kind of a Dennis Bergkamp-esque.
yeah.
Uh,
Without the assist, but just to waste time at the end, you know.
but very good. So did you start to think then as you were coming towards the end of your playing career then? Did management ever enter your mind, coaching? Did you ever start to think about that?
No, it never. But like while I was still with I was with Cleary Celtic at that stage whenever I was finishing up playing anyway, and I probably went to Cleary too late, when I was sort of finishing up, but I was there and Derek McDermott was managing them, and then he was stepping down, and Chris we'd won the Mid Ulster, and Dell was stepping down, and Chris Murphy was taking over, and Chris asked me then to be his assistant. So I hadn't really intended to go into management or anything out there, but it kind of I didn't really want to leave the club, and I didn't really want to stop playing football, but I knew it was finished, and I still wanted to be involved, and I don't think you can beat that sort of dressing room camaraderie that you get, and so you just sort of wanted to keep that kind of going, So whenever Chris sort of asked, I was happy to, sort of stay on and have some kind of, albeit minor, input to how Cleary was, were managed and stuff out there, But I hadn't really planned on it. And then whenever Chris stepped down, he done 2 seasons. I done those seasons with him. And whenever he stepped down, I sort of I went away from it as well and didn't go back. And it wasn't really until last season, whenever I got a phone call and asked to manage Villa Rovers, that well, how do we think about it? Like, but I suppose once the flea was in the air, I kind of went, yeah, I actually wouldn't mind, getting involved in it. And and to be honest with you, I've enjoyed the season. It's been great, it's been great crack. We've done really well. And hopefully we can get over the line next week with a trophy and finish the season off with a trophy, because I think the boys deserve it with the hard work that they put in all season, how well they've done, and how the effort that they put in, and some of the games that they really just they didn't give up the whole way through that game, and we got the rewards from that sort of commitment throughout the season.
Yeah, we're gonna delve deeper into your season in a wee second. And so, do you think even that job when you were assistant manager, did it kind of plant that wee seed that you thought, you know what, I actually don't mind this kind of role? Assistant role is, I suppose, nice that you can almost play a good cop. If the manager's obviously saying, look, you're left out, you can come behind and explain things a wee bit differently, play that kind of good cop. But did it start?
It didn't actually.
No, it
didn't
the opposite.
actually. No, it was a complete opposite. It was like, I'm never going to manage. So it was. And that's why whenever Chris stepped down, I said, and it was sort of mentioned to me about taking over, and I was like, no. So it wasn't. It didn't give me any kind of inclination to being a manager. If anything, it was the other way about. But like Chris was great. Some of the best training I've seen was under Chris. And it was a pleasure to sort of I don't know. I'm not too sure if I had too much of an input, but it was great to be a part of his success, or Cleary Celtic success at that stage.
I suppose whether you feel, I'm sure you did have an input, but whether you did have a massive input or not, I'm sure you appreciated the support, and you probably realise it now as a manager, you need that support and that coaching team behind you to bounce off ideas and agree on certain things, even disagree on certain things. It's always good to, suppose, have somebody in your coaching team or your assistant to kind of challenge you with certain decisions or whatever. So what about when they approach you? What way does that work? Is it just a matter of a phone call, or do you sit down and talk contracts, or what does it? Just a quick call, pint. I'll get you a pint. Oh yeah, you're sold. Yeah, if you get me a pint, I'll manage Villa Rovers.
Yeah. Sorry, are you talking about the Villa Rovers one or
Yeah.
the Villa Rovers one? The Villa Rovers one, I was actually on the golf course, so they interrupted my golf game.
Ah, for flip's sake.
And yeah, I know, and it's been interrupted ever since. But yeah, no. So I was just out, and I just got a phone call, and Mickey Linney, probably the Villa Rovers legends, him and Sean McStay, that they've been involved in the club for many years. Mickey rang me up and asked me to, just saying like, about, would be interested in it, and the position was there, and that he would really have liked me to, to come on board to sort of take over that position. And obviously, well, I was on the golf course, so it says I have to finish off these 9 holes here first. But I'll have a think about it, and I met them then on met the guys, Richie and Sean and Mickey and that at the weekend, and we had a drink and we had a chat over what our plans were and what we were expecting for the season, and what sort of, well, what I kind of wanted, and the support that I kind of needed and hoped to get and that from that, and in fairness, they've sort of backed that up throughout the whole season, and anything I've asked for, new equipment, anything really, that's been provided to me by the club, and they're a well run club, and and always have been, even back to whenever I was playing for Villa. One of the better run clubs in the town, and so it was good to. I think that was probably one of the reasons why I sort of decided to go back there, and as well, you left as a player, and there's still that sort of what's the word, sort of feeling towards the club, and always has been, so you kind of want them to do well, and hopefully I can try and do that, as well.
And what was your, going back to then that meeting in the pub over a few pints of Guinness or whatever it was? What was your aim then for the season, kind of setting off? And also, are you surprised how well you've done this season?
Looking back at it, I'm not surprised about how well we've done when you look at the players that we have. If anything, we probably could have done better. That's not the right thing to say, but we have such a good squad. Really good players, really committed. How they committed themselves into training, how they committed themselves into each and every game. We could have done well, or it was just unfortunate, how things turned about, just at the end of the season. In terms of what I'd hope for the season, is more in terms of the league. I probably didn't expect to do as well as what we did do in the league. Even though as each game progressed, that's when you're kind of thinking, well, that's where we want to be. But I kind of felt that if we believed in ourselves, anything is possible as well. And so I'm in a way, if you were to look, I suppose if you were to go back to that day in the bar and you were to say that you had a playoff to win the league against Cleary Celtic, you would have taken it without a shadow of a doubt. So, it probably was as good as it could have been in terms of how the season turned out, for the league champion. A little bit disappointed with one of the cups, but we're in another final, so that's the other thing. We've another match to win a cup, and hopefully that we can do that.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic season, and I think no matter what happens, hopefully, as you said, you end up with a trophy, which I think you deserve. But when you look at the league, the 21-22 season, you were third bottom with just 22 points, whereas this season you ended up finishing joint top. You had the title playoff, and you racked up 53 points.
Yeah.
What do you think's been the big difference? You've clearly made a huge difference. Players, yes, of course, the players have made. They're the ones that are going out into the field. They're delivering the goods, but you deserve obviously a huge amount of credit for that. What do you feel has been the difference? Has it been bringing in new players? Is it improving the culture? better training? What do you kind of put it down to, or is it just confidence that you built up early on in the season and you just built up that momentum over the course of the season? Because it's
Yeah,
like that's 31 points
I don't.
that you've added to the season before.
Yeah, it was great to do that, but I don't think I've done too much. Um, like, like, like I know you say that it's not the player. I think it is the players, and I think if you give the players the
Oh no,
belief that
it is. No, I'm
that
not. I'm
that,
not.
that, that
The player. No, you're right. I wouldn't. The players, the athletes deserve a huge amount of credit, but you too. You're piecing things
yeah,
together. So don't put yourself down. You've done a great job. But what do you think has been? Maybe it is the players. Do you feel is maybe the
yeah.
big
Look,
difference?
the you know what it is. There's players there that believe in the club, but they believe in each other as well. And they trust each other, and that's the thing. Whenever you've got guys that are, they'll there's that camaraderie that they believe, they're not just there just for themselves. They're there for each other, and I think that's important. And we have that. We've captain, the captain of the club, Kyle Brennan. You couldn't be more committed than Kyle. Jason Long, one of our new signings, couldn't be more committed to the work. In terms of helping and trying to get players in and things like that there. But that, I've named two, and I could be naming every single one of them. The commitment that they put in. So, there was just I think it's a trust that the guys have, and a belief in themselves, and that's kind of um what was kind of created, and maybe it was training techniques and things like that there that, get that they maybe seen that was different to whatever they would have maybe been used to before, and that's sort of what they bought into. And then whenever you signed or sign new players, they seen that kind of different type of training or different attitude to training, and took that on, and believed in that as well. But it's it's 90%, with the players, and then it's about sort of getting the club in terms of, supporting them in the way that they need, and providing them with the things that they need. And I think that's sort of where it kind of comes from.
100%. No, you've as I said, you've had a great season, and just hopefully, fingers crossed, uh, you get over the line then the cup final on Saturday week. So you're due to play
Yep.
Newry Celtic or Cleary Celtic, is that right? Are they wins their semi final?
I don't know the date. It'll be next week. So they're playing each other in the Father Davis final on Saturday, and then they'll be playing each other again then during the week in the semi final of the AOH. So we'll be meeting obviously the winners of that semi final. So all we can do is sort of just sort of train away now over the next sort of week, and get ourselves ready for next Saturday. That's really it, and look forward to meeting whoever we meet.
That's it. And then that'll hopefully be the end of the season, and then you'll get like a week's break and then straight into next season.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
It's
About
unbelievable.
a week if we're lucky. A week if we're lucky, kind of thing. It's mental. So it's dragged on an awful lot. I was actually talking to somebody there tonight. Their league game is Saturday, whatever. So there's it's mental there that it's still going on at this stage.
Yeah, not. And what about the league? Any kind of standout games that you can kind of think of, or cup games over the course of the season that you kind of look back on and think, yeah, I suppose that was the game where we started to believe that we could go all the way and possibly win the league, or we're creating something special here.
There was probably a few. We were we played Newry Celtic down in Drumlane just before Christmas, and I thought we played very well. But with 10 minutes to go, it was still 0-0. And Barry McGee, just a great ball in from Joe Campbell, and I don't know. I think Barry jumped up to head it, and he stayed in the air for about 4 hours before he actually got the head. He just seemed to stay in the air forever. But he headed that in, and we won 1-0. And that kind of that was sort of something where you went, oh, that's a big result. And then just after Christmas, then we were playing Cartwheel, and we were 2-0 down with about 10 minutes to go, and you were thinking, oh Jesus, that's kind of it. And we made a few wee changes in formation, and we in the last 10 minutes we won 3-2. We scored 3 goals, so it was kind of that was where that was a standout moment where you're thinking, gosh, those if things aren't going your way, you lose those games and you end up mid-table. But that was one where we pulled it back, and we got the 3 points from that one. And there's probably another one we played Calma up in Calma, and they'd been unbeaten in the season in the league up until that stage, and we were 1-0 down and got it back to one each in the second half, and then I think it was the last kick of the game we scored the winner. So big moments like that. You see that belief, and it brings the team together as well. Those kind of moments are really important. You see them in, even if you look at the West Ham game there last night where they got that winner, with a couple of minutes to go, how it brings the players together and the fans as well, or whatever, but I know we wouldn't have that, have as many fans, but it's those, they help sort of build that belief going forward into the rest of the season, where you get those wins, and there's that old saying, goals change games, and they can then change seasons, and that's really what happened in those couple of games. But it's every game. Every game leads up to those moments. It's just disappointing that we went. That last game against Cleary in the league, that we weren't able to get the point that we needed just to win the league. But that's the way football goes. It can be cruel sometimes.
And then did you run onto the pitch? Whenever you scored that winner against Kelmlock, did you run onto the pitch like David Moyes last night as well? I thought he was going to burst out of that. He was like the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, he was. No, I didn't. No, I didn't go that far. I wouldn't celebrate that like that unless maybe we win something. But no, I wouldn't celebrate like that.
No, I was actually
trying to control myself a wee bit. I know he's a good manager. He deserves it.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't think so as a Liverpool fan. Him and Everton man. I know he's been around the block a good long while. So he does deserve it.
No, he does. I think he got a lot of stick, obviously from a spell at Man United, and it's probably his reputation took a bit of a battering after that. So it's good to see that West Ham stuck with him, because it looked as if he was going to get the sack a few months ago, and then he's ended up with, their first European trophy in whatever number of years, and obviously his first European trophy. So, as you said, that there'll be special memories for the players, Moyes, and the fans. So then, obviously, it came down then to the playoff, which I'm sure you don't really want to be talking too much about, but
no,
but nonetheless, you said there, if back in that meeting with the legends of Villa Rovers, when you were talking about your plans for the season, if somebody would have said, yeah, it would have come down to a playoff for the title of Cleary Celtic, you certainly would have taken it. But I'm sure a bitter pill to swallow, but what was the build up to that game like? Because it must have been pretty intense.
Yeah, something I can't hardly. It's not long ago now. I can hardly remember it. It was, and I was just sort of trying to get ourselves back on track again as well. Because you have a couple of cup competitions going on as well. And it was more sort of resetting from those cup competitions and getting players sort of. We're unlucky. We Aaron, who'd been playing well for us all season, Aaron Devlin, and he got injured going into that playoff game. So you weren't necessarily going in at full strength, but that's something that we need to build on anyway in terms of for next season, just the strength and depth in the squad. But you were just sort of looking at something different going into that game. We just in both the last game and that game we just had a bad 5-minute spell where we were punished, and I think that's just something that I'm gonna have to try and deal with for next year, or just to get through those moments a wee bit more composed than what we did whenever you're under because you'll always have those moments where you're going to be under the cosh, and you just need to, you have to just get through them a wee bit better than how we did in those games, and but you're always learning, whether you get beat or you win. If like winning sometimes can hide um your weaknesses, so you have to look at any win and see how you can improve on that performance more so than whenever you're getting beat. You'll see more. You should really be looking at every moment and seeing where you can improve on.
Yeah, I always remember we had Darren Mullen on the podcast last year, and we were
Right.
just chatting about the season that. So Newry, probably know yourself, had to start at the very bottom, Intermediate B, and I got promoted easily enough into Intermediate A. But their first season in Mid-Ulster Intermediate A, they ended up, I think they finished fourth. And, they were tipped obviously to finish first and obviously to progress through the divisions. But he always says it's probably the best thing that could have happened, because they knew then what they needed for the following season. Like you said there, you're reflecting on sort of strength and depth that if you are missing one or two players, that you've got other players that can come in and make the difference in a big game like playing Cleary Celtic or Newry Celtic, whoever you're playing, So as you said, maybe it's obviously you would have won it, but I think when you do lose it, that you can reflect and say, okay, well, what do we need for next season to get over the line?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so obviously you've got then the cup final coming up then on Saturday week. You're probably sick of the sight of Cleary Celtic, so you'll probably be hoping for Newry Celtic, or maybe you want Cleary Celtic so you can kind of
I don't
get
mind.
one over the line.
I don't mind.
As long as you're in the final.
It's the final, and I don't mind. So I'm friends with loads of the Cleary ones, so it's good to catch up. Um, so it's you're only enemies just for the 90 minutes, and then after that, everything's forgotten about. So I don't mind. Cleary Celtic or Newry Celtic. We're happy enough. We know on our day. If we prepare ourselves, we're a match for anybody. So we're we just focus on ourselves.
That's it. That's the right managerial talk there. Right, Danny. We're going to spin the wheel of Berba. Of course, you're going to be sending on your Keepie Uppies, so you're going to have your homework done, which can be a bit of a head wrecker, that one. But it'll be a shout out to some of your ex teammates, and you've played for some fantastic football clubs. So I'm going to spin the wheel of Berba. It's named after an ex teammate of ours who was nicknamed Berba, which he doesn't appreciate. I'm going to spin this wheel. It's going to land on some football topic, and you give us your lowdown. So I'm just going to spin it here. Okay, so it's R&R with Danny Cushnan. So R&R, I'm looking you to name one football moment, whether it's your playing or managerial career, that you'd love to relive and why. And if there's one football moment in your playing or managerial career that you regret, so a moment that you'd love to relive, one moment that you regret. Tough one, that one.
One moment that I'd relive. Okay. Something you relive. I suppose whenever well, there was it was more whenever Villa Rovers they got promoted. It was the season we won the league. But this game was really we got promoted. And then we had a match after that, that won the league. But it was more the one that where we got promoted, because it was looking like we weren't. It was so close that any one of three teams, and whoever didn't win that night, it was that kind of close. If you didn't win, you weren't promoted, and you weren't even going to end up in the. I think it was a playoff game actually to win the league, but it was. I think I got the ball out the right wing, and I just hoofed it. It was the dying minutes, and I kind of hoofed it forward, and fella Noel. Oh God, I can't remember Noel's last name. And he headed it in, and we won. and it was that kind of euphoric moment of winning, where you're about to actually lose or go out of something, was pretty special, So it was a big celebration that night, That was probably one that I'd like to relive. Regrets. I don't really have any regrets. I suppose it'd be the odd penalty miss, maybe. Not that I had too many, but probably the odd penalty miss might be the only regret as a moment in football. But I wouldn't have regrets, because I'd like to, anything that didn't sort of fall your way, you kind of pick yourself up and you move on. So I wouldn't look back on regrets.
So you say the odd penalty, so that obviously means you've had multiple penalty misses then? Is that what you're saying? That sounds a lot.
Well,
Sounds like sounds like you shouldn't be on penalties anymore.
Well, I'm not, thankfully. I'm not. No. I think. Well, it takes guts to stand up and take a penalty.
That's it.
And I always did. I was the penalty taker for Villa, but I did miss one or two. Not too many, but over the course of 10 or 15 years, you're going to miss more than you're not going to go that whole time without missing a penalty. So even Henrik Larsson missed the odd one.
Aye, that's it. At least you stepped up. You put yourself forward, which is the main thing.
Yeah.
Well, here, Danny, I want to thank you for taking time out to come on, and hopefully I didn't disturb your golfing round like the Villa Rovers managerial selection team did.
No.
This time probably last year. Wish you all the best then in your cup final and next season as well, which I'm sure you'll be hoping to get over the line and bring the league trophy home. So thanks a million for coming on. And
thanks very much, now.
You take it easy and look after yourself.
Yeah, you too. Brilliant. Thanks very much, now.
All the best. Good luck.
Good. Bye.
Before we sign off, let's hear Danny's Keepie Uppies.
Okay, best team I've ever played for, I'm going to say Villa Rovers team that got promoted and won the second division, got promoted. Best captain, Vincey McKevitt. Best goal scorer, I'll say Neil Barzo. Best touch, Charlie Quinn. Best keeper, Stephen Havern. Best defender, Michael. Although there's been a few, but I'll say Michael. Best midfielder, Robbie Quinn. Best striker, I'd say Neil Barr. Again, because, it wouldn't be right him not put down his best goal scorer, not best striker. Best left foot, John McCormick or James McParland. Best right foot, Charlie Quinn. Best manager, I'm going to say Artie Green for whenever he coached underage football. Loves a hard challenge. Vincey Small. He never pulled out of anything. Quickest player, Keelan Gray. Best all-round player, I'm going to actually not go with ex-teammates. I'm going to actually say Joe Campbell here from the current Villa Rovers team. He's played in every position apart from nets. Player that got better with age, Sean McStay. Player always gave 100%. I think I'll go with Snowy Noel McCoy in that one. He always gave 100% in training, 100% out on the football pitch. So that's sort of the Keepie Uppies up. I just want to say thanks very much to the Bridge Bar for sponsoring us and their continued sponsorship. And thanks to Shane and Brandy for looking after us whenever we get back to the bar. It's really appreciated. And also thanks to our other sponsors, Blockbuster Environmental Services. And also just thanks to Richie Troop and Simon Taylor for helping me out throughout the season. Richie, unbelievable work in the background. I don't think anybody realises how hard he works there for Villa. And just thanks to him for that support throughout the season.
Keepie Uppies with Richie and Tots.